everybody. Welcome back to ISSA Talk. We got a part 2 today. We're talking about recovery. If you tuned in before, you may or may not recognize me. I'm your host for today, Jenny Scott. I am a master trainer and product developer here at ISSA. I'm so excited to be with you guys and to have our special guest, Yodi Richardson. Welcome, Yodi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for those of you, again, who don't know her, she is a highly respected functional movement therapist who's specialized in sports recovery for more than 18 years. She's worked with athletes all over the world, you guys, ranging from English and Irish cycling teams, UFC and MMA fighters, Olympians, CrossFitters, and even players from the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, MLB, and even golfers. The list could go on and on. It's really cool who she's worked with. And now she remains a sports recovery therapist for the Los Angeles Lakers. Yodi, you've got quite the resume, girl.
Thank you. I worked hard for it.
So again, we are picking back up on our recovery talk. We've made some great points in our first episode. Hopefully you guys checked it out. But Yodi, you ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right. So my first question for you today is, when you're looking at somebody, when you're talking to somebody, how can you tell that they need more recovery?
Well, one, listen, hear what they're saying. And if they're having pains, right when they walk in, I don't know about you, but when somebody walks into my session, I see things, and whether it's a gait differential, they're holding their shoulder, there's always telltale signs. You just got to look and listen.
Absolutely. I'm really big on that. I can pick up on stuff and say, hey, is your hip bugging you today? And they're like, how did you know? I'm like, well, you got a little, like we talked about before, you got a little hitch in your giddy up over there.
Yeah. I'm like, you guys must be in the South.
Right? I know. So
Yes.
a lot of people think that recovery, though, is like we talked about before, like just a massage, or it only happens after a workout. How do you change somebody's mind and tell them that recovery is more than that? How do you enlighten them?
The best way to enlighten them is by doing. Get one. Get with a recovery therapist and learn what they are doing. And you'll see that, it's from when your people come in to train with you. What are they doing? Warm up is recovery, and it's pre-recovery, but it's recovery, and eating right, nutrition, recovery, all these factors that you teach in a personal training regimen is recovery as well as training.
So we as professionals have to recognize that. How do we share that with the clients? Do we tell them, or do we kind of sneak it in? What do we do?
I think you tell them on a regular basis. It's like when you're teaching them about nutrition, you're telling them, if you see something wrong with them, you're going to tell them, hey, do you have a massage therapist? Do you have a recovery therapist? Are you doing anything outside of just training with me? Because I want to see you do well. So it's educating them, the client.
Absolutely. I love that. You're all about educating yourself, but also educating others, which is a huge responsibility for a fitness professional.
Exactly. We are blessed to know what we know. So why wouldn't we want to share it?
100%. I agree. Now, you work with a lot of like really high level athletes. How does their recovery differ from somebody like your mom or an average client that you might see in the gym?
I don't think that it really does differ. Not that much. It's like the only difference is well, with some of my people, their paychecks. So, but they still have to do the work. It's like we have jobs where we go to and we sit at a desk 40 hours a week. They have jobs that they have to work harder than we do because they have to be physically active. I mean, I think about tennis. I always think about tennis because in order for them to have a 6-hour tournament, how do you train your body for that? So it differs a lot. So they need recovery. You think they're going to get through a major tennis match without recovery and then having to play the next day or the day after? So how does it differ? Not much. It's just that they're playing at a higher level. But you need to get back to your office. You need to get back to your kids, your family. You need recovery. You can't be hurting from a training session.
Yeah, so they just might do more of something, but the same stuff, really.
It's very much the same stuff. It's they're just doing it at a higher level in the sense of intensity. Like the average person probably needs a couple times a month, where or it depends on their injury or their level of activity and stuff like that. But when you get into the high level athletes, they're looking at it. Some of my people come in 3-4 times a week, depending on, if they're at tournament level, if they're at world championships, where are they at in their game? If it's, off season, I'll see them maybe once a month, twice a month, because they're not training as hard. So just on intensity of training. And like,
Absolutely. That actually answered my next question for you is how do you know what kind of recovery somebody needs, like what protocol to use or how much? Like tell me more about that. If somebody's doing more work, they need more recovery. If they're doing less, they need less. What are your
you
thoughts
know,
on that?
it's like when you're training for a marathon. If you're going to be training for the marathon, you build up to it. So it's the same with recovery. When you get closer to that marathon, you're going to need me more. And it's like even with pregnancy. Pregnancy is its own marathon. So it's like when they get into their third trimester, I see them usually weekly, as opposed to when they're in the first couple trimesters, where I don't see them as regularly because they don't need me because their body's changing and developing the baby. But then as they get closer to the birth, the same as you get closer to your marathon, you need me more.
Absolutely. What's the one thing that trainers aren't doing right now that they should be for recovery for their clients?
That's a hard one because it's like there's so many different trainers, and some are doing it 100% right. Some are just coming into the game. I don't think anybody's doing anything wrong. I just think that it's lack of education where they don't realize what they could do more of. So there's no
Absolutely.
wrong or right answer to that one.
Yeah, and that makes sense. What I know of recovery, there's so many different techniques and everybody's different. So to say that this is going to work for all soccer players, this is going to work for all, CrossFitters, it doesn't happen that way, right?
Nope. Sometimes what the CrossFit fitter needs is the same thing I do for a ballerina. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
and
don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you know it.
yeah, and you kind of have to look at the person too. And like you said, look at their gait, look at the way they're moving, look at the injuries that they might have and how are they feeling today? That's a great question to ask.
Yes, and it's like it's also the response. Don't ask a question just to ask a question. Ask a question to hear the answer because that's how
Absolutely.
you're going to help them.
Yep. You got to listen to make it right. That's awesome, Yodi. So, what are we missing though? What do most people overlook when it comes to fitness and recovery?
I think sometimes what we think about is like we look at the people's goals and what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. And you don't build the Eiffel Tower in a day. You have to put building blocks down. So it's like letting, like hearing their goal, be excited for it, but also give them little bitty goals to get to so they feel the accomplishments, but they're also still building the Eiffel Tower. And recovery is a big part of those building blocks. So it's just about nothing's going to change overnight. So you just got to work at it and just be consistent. And like, in some of the business classes I do, and like, that I'm a total nerd when it comes to education, but it's like CPR. That's like the only thing I always hear is consistency produces results. So that's the main thing I like to teach all of my clients. It's like, yes, you want your shoulder better, but I've only seen you once. We have to work at this. It's like, how long did it take you to hurt that shoulder? And why did you hurt that shoulder? So now let's
Yes.
get it back. But you've got to give me time to do what I can do, and you got to do your homework.
So you're telling
So,
me that as a trainer, we progress their programs and we have to progress their recovery too?
yes. What's so bad about that? You want them to stay.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though, Yodi. You're absolutely right, especially when you said like you didn't hurt your shoulder in one day, right? It's been repetitive injury or a repetitive issue. So it's going to take just as long, if not longer, to repair it. That's huge. That's a really cool
Yeah.
point.
It's like, the pitcher, they wind up the ball. Now I got to unwind it. You know, it's like,
Absolutely.
you throw up, it got to come down. So
Yes. So again, we know that there's no one size fits all for recovery. There's no one technique that works for everybody. But what are some of your go-to or your favorite techniques? And tell me why.
It's going to again depend on the client as well as the injury. I'm a huge advocate for cryotherapy. I like cryotherapy. It dulls the proprioceptors and lets them not feel the pain as much as it is, and then I can do a little bit of extra work when they thaw out a little bit. Um, I like band work. We've talked about that numerous times. I love lacrosse balls. I love the hypervolt or Theragun. Any percussion. I like cupping. I love static and dynamic cupping. I love active movement. Stretching, I'm a huge advocate for. And it's like, like I tell my clients all the time, I said, the reason you come to me to stretch you is because I don't feel your pain. And when you say, oh, that hurts, it's like I push a little bit more. And then it's like, oh, wow, I could do that.
Yeah, you're totally right. Because when we have a threshold for pain, we'll stop, right? We do something, we're like, oh, that hurts, we stop. Somebody else will be like, oh, that hurts? Yeah, yeah, keep going, you know? That makes a ton of sense.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I do something wrong? No, but then it's like, then after they realize, it's like, like the biggest thing is pain you have to walk through. I mean, now mind you, if you have a limb broken and bones shattered through the skin, let's see a doctor. Let's get through that.
Yeah.
That's different. But I'm saying general pain. We're going to have achiness when we work out. But what's wrong with getting the blood flowing and movement again? And then all of a sudden, you're like 2 weeks later, you're like, wow, like this is like an easy workout. I can do this. And it's because you're moving, and you got to keep moving. And that's all we're doing, is just moving through this world.
Absolutely. And I've heard you say it before in our previous conversations, move it or lose it, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you stop moving, it stops working.
It really does. It truly does. It's like, think about when you have knee surgery. You used to lay in the bed 6 weeks. Now all of a sudden you're getting up and moving right away. Why?
Yeah.
Because movement's a key. Like, you have to do this.
My mom had her knee replaced a couple years ago, and she was up moving the next day, and she was surprised, but yeah.
C-sections, what do they want? They want movement in the body. You can't go home until everything's moving. So it's really important. And that's what recovery is just keeping people moving at the best of their abilities.
So we know that there's been like a lot of new tools and things for recovery. Cryotherapy is relatively new. The concept is not, but the introduction to mainstream is. If you had a crystal ball, Yodi, where would you see recovery in about 5 years?
I'm excited to be here in 5 years, because the innovation that's coming through with people that are trainers, strength and conditioning coaches, massage therapists, because they're seeing problems. So 5 years, wow, it's going to be exciting. I think there's going to be more digital apps and different ways, because people are actually, the frontliners are out there working with the people, and they're seeing what the problems are. And instead of like trying to get around them, they're inventing new ways of doing them. This is why you're coming up with all these different things. Like, we've talked about it before, the Voodoo Band, great stuff, easy. Even bands, Theragun. I told you about the mobility wall, which is going to be a phenomenal addition to the gyms as well as home gyms. And I think much more people, because we're moving into the home world, I think a lot more people are going to be about recovery, because they only have their house to move in. So you gotta make it work for you. You gotta be efficient, and you've got to move correctly. So I think in 5 years, we're going to be amazed with some of the new inventions that are coming out there. Like, I love to go, not right now, but normally, like to the fitness conventions to see what's out there. And some of these people are coming up with some good stuff. So I can't see ahead 5 years, but I know what's on the drawing board, and I'm excited to see if it makes it into reality.
So I'm hearing technology and accessibility.
I believe so. That's where I see it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Put it in more people's hands. Yeah. Right. Put it in more people's hands, and they can use it.
Yeah. And I think people are realizing that, like, one of my favorite workouts is boxing. It's like, and I think with the pandemic, boxing is amazing, because you can do it as a couple, do it with your partner. And it's like so much fun, and you can get so much aggravation and, like, stress out of your body in like 3 minutes. It's like, oh my God, you're dripping in sweat. I love it.
Exactly. I'm going to tell my boyfriend that. So when I start boxing him, and then we go sit in the hot tub to recover.
Yeah. Get it out on the, as long as you're in the rink when you get it out, no problem. Then you can recover.
I'll say it was prescribed, right?
Absolutely. I'll write you the prescription.
There you go. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your insight, Yodi. You've been awesome.
Oh, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much. And we will be in touch soon. A lot of good things coming down the pipeline regarding recovery. So keep your eyes peeled. But more importantly, like Yodi said, go educate yourself. Start learning what you can do to help your clients move better, and everyone's going to benefit.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks, Yodi.